Nexxlegacy.
All right, good people. This is Charles. I am Brandon Madison of Nexxlegacy Radio, and I have my beautiful guest. I mean, she does literally everything. When I say she has like 500 jobs, she literally does. And I gotta give her credit because I took a look at a lot of what she's doing. Went on her website, which is www.maraprosepublishing.com, and just checked out her social media, her things that she has going on, and I'm impressed. Reached out to her because I feel like we need to put more positivity in the stratosphere in regards to a lot of people doing things to grow, not just for her own individual self, but also to pay it forward and help the people as far as her business and what she does. And she's brought to you by Mara Prose on social media. You can follow her, hit her up, and I mentioned maraprosepublishing.com. And I have the beautiful author, Mara Prose, on Nexxlegacy Radio. What's up, sweetheart? Welcome to the show.
Hello.
How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you for that amazing intro. I'm not going to be able to walk out of here without a big head.
Hey, we going to make room for that head, though, so it's okay. It is all good. We going to make room for it. But, nah, true to life. Like, you know, you've been on, I'm just gonna tell a story before I start asking questions. I mean, you've been in my Facebook world for a little bit, but I've always seen you in action in terms of, like, the stuff that you post, super positive, thought-provoking, etc. And, you know, in a world where it's twisted, where there's so many different sideways agendas and things like that, I mean, I love breath of fresh air. I love self-reflection. I love when people post stuff that will either make me think or make me react in a way where it's just like, all right, I got to check myself, or I got to look at the pieces in place in order for me to either do better, show that, and put that into action. And I love how people do it like that. And I got to give you credit for that. So thank you for inspiring me too.
I'm happy to hear that. And no, thank you, because that's what's most important to me, is that it's resonating with everybody. I really don't want to just put, I think we have enough junk coming at us, all of this reality TV and all that other stuff. I just feel like that's pointless. So just to counteract that and put some balance out there, I do want positivity, but it also reflects just probably these past 7 years of just a journey of healing and finding myself and finding my voice again, and then just starting to dive into what I love to do, which is writing.
So let's talk about that, because I mean, you're gonna spotlight writing, but you're also an author, producer, podcaster. You are everything. People go on your website, they're able to see all that you do. So before you start talking about that, really, like, how did you dive into, like, you know what, this is going to be my business. This is going to be something that I want to, you know, set up for myself so I can be able to put this out there for the people. Like, how did you get started to find that niche that you wanted to do?
You know, it really evolved over time. When I first set my mind to just writing and making it more a regular habit and trying to turn it into, you know, like a passive income, I started out with a blog. And then in that first month, it was like almost 500 followers and really started getting a lot of traction. And then from there, it just was networking, people finding my poetry or my blogs. And I wound up with the opportunity to host my own radio show on Blog Talk Radio. And then that evolved into, well, I wanted to move into podcasting. And so I got into podcasting. When people started listening to that, that's when they started reaching out if I could help with screenplays and ghostwriting. So it's just been an evolution, and I've just been following it. It's whatever opportunity pops up, and I just go with it.
Well, I feel like that's an extension of who you are as a person, because I feel like a lot of people don't really, like, okay, you know, well, some people do. They may wake up one morning or, you know, wake up from a nap or whatever it is and be like, you know what, this is, I had a dream about it, or this is where I feel like the Lord is taking me in regards to this mission of paying it forward. But you were doing it in such a way where I feel like a lot of people literally have to not just listen to what you say, but also comprehend as well. Because, you know, in life, a lot of people, and I'm still learning this too, and I'm in my 40s and I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, you just pay it forward, like, comprehend. There's differences in how you do it. You can listen. I can hear what you say all day, but if I can't soak it in and just really, find that happy place where I can understand you, then, what's the point? So communication, I feel like, is key as well. But as a business entrepreneur, because you and I were very similar. I came from the blog talk realm as well. And you started picking up traction. But how was it in the early days, though? So was it just an audience of one or two, and then it slowly swelled? And how did that begin? And has people really got to you? Did they really just kind of like pick up and be like, all right, I got you. I'm gonna start helping you out as far as growth?
Yeah, absolutely. It was slow going at first. It was a lot of follies, for lack of a better word. It was, trial and error, and then just trying to figure out, okay, how do I promote my work? How do I do this whole social media and analyzing it and using Twitter and, the ads and stuff. And then again, it's just when people started reaching out, my poetry actually, I think, is what resonates first with people. That has been the majority of the connections that I've made because they've read my poetry. And so that even led into the screenplay and screenwriting. And it just was, a lot of it is, I just say it's God. Literally, it's not me. Because some of the stuff, writing the screenplay and stuff, I don't know how I know how to do that. It just came to me, and I can do it. So I don't really take a lot of credit for it. It's just, it's divine intervention here that's leading me on this journey.
Do you feel like, as a business owner and what you do from what you just said, that not only does it and the mission is no longer yours to cultivate, it's really God's plan at the end of the day, but do you really feel that what you do can be a positive, not just impact on people and how they shape themselves, I guess you could say, but also shape the way that they conduct business? Because I feel like this. There's a lot of people who really want to jump on that bandwagon, and they want to be like, oh, you know what? Mara got something cool. I'm going to go ahead and follow her, but not pay attention. I just want to see what she got going on. Or, there's like the weird agendas, like I mentioned, or whatever. But do you find that this is easy for you to really kind of like navigate through, because it's really not yours anymore? Anytime that you give a business out there, you really put it out there for the people, really. But do you find that it's easier for you to kind of walk this walk now and just be like, you know what, I'm going to just keep doing it, because somebody is going to really gravitate, elevate, and try to be a better person themselves based off what you do?
Yes, absolutely. A big part of it, and I say this in a lot of my writing and podcasts, is I want to leave a legacy to my children. I want to leave them something, not just, little trinkets or whatever. I feel like we are really bad at that, at setting ourselves, our children up for the future. So that's also a big part of it. But yeah, it is influencing people. I'm concerned with this agenda of pitting men against women. That's bothering me. I see that all over, the internet and stuff. So if I just put a little dent in it, 1%, where it makes somebody think and step back and say, hey, you're right. They are pitting us against each other. How do I stop this? How do I not be a part of that? Then to me, that's really what it's more about than getting out there and trying to blow up and be a bestseller. Of course, I still want that, but there's just more to it than that.
Wow, you just hit on something that I feel like a lot of people don't pay attention to, and I see it as well. I see the men versus the women, women versus men, however you want to put it. And it's, to me, there's, in the comments that you see will raise your eyebrow to the point where it's just like, this is the way people are actually thinking. Like, they think it's really okay to divide, when, Mara, I feel like you know this. I mean, we've spent decades on decades, hundreds of years on that same path. It's just a different way of trying to divide people at the end of the day, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. And that's... Oh, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I lost my thought there, so go ahead.
No, I wanted to highlight that thought just mainly, Mara. I see it. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that people are on that page, and, you know, a lot of people don't just take it upon themselves to be like, look, we all trying to figure it out. We're all not perfect people. We all have a path to go. And until you figure that out yourself, you're just going to continue to be that person that's going to comment off of negativity and influence, because people can easily be influenced by nothing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's very crazy. We do have a lot of sheep out there. And, you know, I was approached about that from somebody that I should be more controversial with my blog. They were willing to put some money behind it. But that's not who I am. You know, I don't feel the need to go out here and show out and bring negativity out there for what? To, you know, get a little bit of a buck, and then I'm feeling horrible. You know, I see those influencers who are just like trashing women and the ones that are trashing men, and it's like we have to stop this. It would be more valuable if we get on there and we just talk about our frustrations. And then how do we bring that together and stop the frustrations? How do we communicate better? How do we come together as a community instead of just going on materialistic stuff? So, yeah, that's my soapbox for that one.
Amen to that. Mark Prose,
I can go on and on.
Nexxlegacy Radio. Listen, you and I both. And back to your podcast though, like when you say you were approached by people trying to put money behind it and different things like that, and you have control over what you do, and I feel like that's always good, regardless of you know, who's trying to throw some money your way. What has been the biggest? I'm gonna say just let's just go positive. What is the biggest positives you see, you know, since launching your podcast and everything? And then on the flip side to that, what's been the biggest misconception or negative that's come up since then?
So I would say the biggest positive is it does give people a platform to listen to, because when I interview my guests, I let them know this is about you and this is about your work and what you're putting out there. But I also want you to share your journey. What's that pivotal moment that, just kind of like what you asked me, that made you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do? And so to just get the feedback and the comments from that, hey, this made me start writing, or you know what, I got into an acting class. Thank you for having, you know, Rolando Boyce from The Chi on your thing, stuff like that. It's like that is just wonderful. I would say the negative side is probably the people who are trying to use my podcast and my writing to try to get next to me and try to hook up with me. Have no interest whatsoever in networking with me or getting my material out there. So that's tiring. And I wish people would stay out of my DM, because I cannot decipher when it's a networking opportunity or it's just some fool who thinks he has a chance. So please, to everybody listening, stop that.
Oh my God, the occasional sliding in the DMs. This is a new way of like, all right, you got to filter it out. Like, how do I do it or deal with it or whatever? Do you get it more than normal, or do you just got to shut it down the pond?
It's quite a bit, especially when I'm posting a lot more of my material. And don't let me drop a selfie, and then it's all of a sudden it's just floods of weirdos in there. So and that's not trying to be conceited. That's just what happens, you know. And I think that's just for most women. Put a selfie on there, and you're going to get that in your inbox. But again, I would love for it to be, if you are going to do that, be more respectful about it. And that way, you know, I can be respectful in turning you down. But it's just, they come at you just, you know, it's aggressive, and these, you know, they're acting like little children on there. I don't know. Just stop. That's my message about that. Stop it.
Grown men acting like children trying to slide in the DMs is not the business in 2023, 24, 25, and forever. So get it right. Now, and I know, you know, networking is a little different, because my approach to you was literally, I mean, I'm going to keep it true, slid into your Facebook message. I was like, hey, I see, I see what I see, and and I'm laughing because I mean, and people got to work it different, and I get it. Like, people see. I mean, it's just a different way of communicating now, and I know it's tough to try to filter out everything that happens in regards to that. So I know, just me personally, not just my approach to you, but just in general, when I'm either requesting interviews or doing certain things, I just want to try to keep it true for what the agenda is. And I always say, if something clicks and it evolves off of that or whatever, then it is what it is. But, don't let that be the reason, because I look at it like this, and as a business owner, and I want to ask you this too, when people help people, I always feel like that's a great satisfaction when it comes to not just Black-owned businesses, but just businesses in general. Like, to me, I think it's vital, because is it not our pension that we have a successful business that we can be able to give to our family, our kids, et cetera, et cetera? And do you take that same approach as well when it comes to that? Like, it's my livelihood, so I think it's important for us to make sure that we keep it true.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's, I'm glad you brought that up, because it is exactly what I want people to follow their dreams, but I also want us to stop just withholding information and actually sharing that knowledge. Like my grandfather, he shared so much knowledge with me just from even a young age, and I don't feel like we have that anymore. So what I try to do is, every year I do my reflections and I share, okay, this is how I've grown or whatever else, but I include in there not generalizations. I want them to know that, hey, I'm human too. I messed up, make the wrong mistakes or whatever, but the point is, sit in it, feel disappointed, but don't stay there. You have to get back up, and you just have to keep moving. And so that's if I encourage people to just keep going regardless, then I've done exactly what I set out to do.
Screenwriting is part of your journey in your life and things like that. How many screenwriting assignments have you completed thus far in your career?
So thus far, it's been 5 that I've completed. It was 2 mini-series, and then it's been a couple of commercials, and then 1 was an independent film that I helped write for. I think in the future I would love to do more of that. Probably not like Hollywood, because I don't feel like they are on creativity. They just want to remake, junk over and over again. I want to go the more independent route and actually probably just start putting out my own movies. So that's a goal coming up, especially with writing. I feel like I write these books with the intention of I can easily convert this over to a screenplay. Okay. And if you have that as an assignment for yourself, I still find that fascinating, because even as a screenwriter, just getting to the point where your character developing and you're setting different scenes for different directions that you want to take it. How easy is that versus writing a book? Because I find that challenging too, because you have to find a beginning, middle, and ending. But also, I find it like a super challenge that you have to, literally character develop as you're going through the motions of your screenwriting journey, right? Right, you do. And for me, it's easier on the screenwriting. It's a lot less pages, and it's a lot more descriptive. Yeah, I have dialogue there, but I am setting up a scene for you, so I do it in blocks. Whereas when I'm writing my books, that's a whole big world that I've got to make sure it comes together, and I'm remembering all the details and the nuances that I put in there. And if I'm going to turn it into a trilogy, I really have to remember it. So for me, the screenwriting is easier than actually writing the books. Wow, that's different, because I would find it. Well, they're both challenging. You still have to find that, like I mentioned, the beginning, middle, end. But I always thought the character development was so like, okay, how's he or she going to be able to evolve so the audience can be able to capture their journey, right? Like I look at specific things and I'm like, how do you get from there to there so your audience can relate? And I find it fascinating that you find that easier versus writing a book, actually. So
Hey, I give you all the credit in the world.
I think it's mainly because that's the kind of movies that I gravitate towards are movies with character development, or even TV shows, you know, where there's an evolution of that person. So I think that's more why it becomes easier, because I'm so immersed in those types of movies and TV shows.
What has been your challenges? You have 5 screenwriting accomplishments under your belt. What has been your challenge in regards to not just you know, because you mentioned Hollywood, but you want to do things yourself and have more control. Has there been any setbacks in regards to the development of what you're doing, or are you just, for each one, you continuing to get better as you continue to write?
So for each one, it does get better. I do learn something new every time, but I think for me the biggest challenge is you're not writing solo. You're writing in what's called the writing room. You know, there's a lot of different opinions in there. There's, you know, it's a little bit more backstabbing and cutthroat, and everybody's trying to shine over the other person. So that makes it hard, because you have stress from that, and you're trying to also bring together, you know, a script with a ton of other writers, and we've got to bring that all together into one. So that's hard. There's a lot of voices in there, and, you know, we all have our egos about our work, and we're sensitive about it. So that's the hardest part.
Yeah. Author Mara Prose, actually, she's more than an author. She's a producer, podcaster, screenwriter. You can make sure you hit up maraprosepublishing.com. That is her website. Go take that, learn more. That you can, and follow her on all social media platforms as well. And I want to say, when it comes to just as a person and woman, I've been getting these thoughts, and I just kind of want your take in regards to it, not just the industry of Hollywood, but just in general. You know, had a couple different interviews with a lot of people in the industry. Taraji's being a recent one, but she also mentioned that she had you know, another podcast that she was on, or she was talking about just the lack of pay versus men versus women as well. And that has become like a huge public situation again. I know it's sensitive for a lot of people, but I just wanted your thoughts on it, one. And do you see that running not just rampant in the entertainment business, but just everywhere else?
Yeah, it is rampant in the entertainment, but it's also, you know, outside of here, I have my 9 to 5. You know, I'm a business systems manager at a data intelligence company, and even there, you know, if our male counterpart says something and we have a solution, they say it has so much more weight than if we say it. We have to prove it, and I mean, we have to go above and beyond to approve it, to get it approved and prove ourselves. Whereas them, you know, they can just throw out ideas like, hey, yeah, let's go with it. And so, yes, it's frustrating. You do have to just stand up for yourself. There's been things that I've turned down just because it's like, I'm not going to be lowballed, because I know what my worth is. So that's the thing. That's the hard part. It's like, you know, you got to make a living, but then I feel like, for me, I have to stand up for what I believe in and what's right.
Amen to that. I find it, and I've been a part of a lot of diversity and inclusion meetings with a lot of different companies throughout, not just entertainment, but in the banking industry, and just in general, like being a part of these. Where the weird thing about it is, we acknowledge it, but we don't do anything about it, which is really sad in a lot of different ways. And the entertainment business, it's different. And I don't want to say or diminish anything that people do, but I think the entertainment business is a little different, because if someone has 5 movies and you only have 2, you know, it's hard to try to divide, like, you know, who's going to get the most out of whatever. But on the flip side to that, I see more men banking on more movie deals, meaning they'll get $10 million a film, as opposed to the other person who is a female who's only getting 3. And I don't understand that at all. It's just a weird cycle. But again, like I mentioned, Mara, if people are acknowledging it but don't do anything about it, where does that leave us? Because something's got to change. You know what I mean?
And we do, and you know what? That's what I say too. When these things like happen with George Floyd and Trayvon Martin, we do a whole bunch of rah in the beginning, and then it dies off. And then you wait for the next tragedy, and then we're all up in arms, and then it dies off again. No, we got to be consistent with this, because if we're consistent, then we'll be taken more seriously and we'll be heard more. Because you think about it, I mean, we're crying wolf. And they were like, just give them something, give them a little parade or whatever. No, they'll be quiet. And then we do. We shut up. We'll go with the next little Hollywood scandal that has nothing to do with anything, and we're distracted again. So I find that frustrating, and I try to put that in my work, and I make sure I put that in my podcast, because that needs to stop. It needs to change. We got to do better.
Come on, Mara. You said the truth. We are kings and queens of rallying. We could rally when the issue arises and it's a hot topic and everybody's up in arms, and you'll see it all in your hashtags and social media things and going out there and do everything else. But to keep it consistent and to keep it true when the lights are off, or in this case, when the spotlight is no longer shining in general, that's when it gets real as far as how do you handle it, what can be done. And the people that do, shout out to them, but also the ones who don't need to look in the mirror and figure it out. Like, don't just bandwagon jump this situation. This is a situation that is, true to life. That's going to, doesn't matter if you have kids or not. Like, that next generation is going to feel this no matter what you do. And I feel like, Mark, we've been generational babies when it comes to this. We've seen all the protests. We've seen all this stuff in action, but we still don't see much. So we have to change the approach to how we do it. Not saying that protesting is not the thing. I mean, you can do that, but what's the next plan? Like, how do we do something different than what we had before in order for us to have an impact? And I always say stuff like this: having an uncomfortable conversation, having dialogue, and just having a plan in place that we can be able to kind of set forth a different way of going about it. And it's going back to what you are and what I am. We're business people. We want to make sure that we build this business for our people, our next generation of people, hire and have control. And the more we do that, the more you're going to see where the responsibility is going to lie. And I think that's super important.
It is super important, and it's super important for us to also remember we've got to stop being distracted in general, because while we're out here worrying about Cardi B and Offset and them breaking up for the 100th time, they're slowly taking rights away from everybody. There's women's rights that are, getting taken away. Texas here, we're going to try to, if you look like you're Latino, you could get arrested and across the border. I mean, there's things that are going on besides these empty-headed people in Hollywood. It just we got to pay attention. Don't look at the headlines either. I do read the headlines, but I read those small stories at the bottom. That's where the truth is. That's what's going on in the world, and that's what deserves our attention and our voice behind it.
I think we're only human when we do glance at a headline and either we're going to, this is going on. And you mentioned that, breakups and different things. And I see stuff on there too. And I usually don't comment on it. But if I do, I'm like, why is this news? And Mara, where I feel like this, not just you doing podcasts and I'm doing the same thing. We're journalists, right? So there's so much, when I say fake news, Mara, it is it. There are so many people passing off. There are so many people passing off their skits as real life situations or whatever. And to me, it's fake and phony, and I don't understand. Where did it go wrong when it comes to stuff like that? Because you and I, we probably come from the same cloth as I'm getting to know you, that, you know what, I just want the real that's in front of me, and then we could be able to comment off that, but it's different. What happened?
I think it's mostly social media, and then it's just made people very, very lazy. They want that instant gratification, and really, again, they're just gravitating towards either someone half naked and twerking, or they're on the shade room and they're talking and fighting in the comments about that. But we are missing out on this bigger picture and this bigger agenda out there that is affecting us and our children that are coming after us. And if we're going to sit up here and allow ourselves to constantly be distracted, there's no hope for us. So that's again, with my platform, and so I could go on and on about this. This is a big topic for me, but that's what I get frustrated about. Is we've got to start using our brains anymore. We have some powerful minds in our community, and we've got to stop pulling together and just pushing back on this inequality that is still there that should not be there.
Amen to that. People help people. I still believe in that. I still will not change based on what I see versus what I see via social media. I still feel like there's enough of us more out there that we could be able to change a narrative if we continue to stay consistent at what we do. And I commend you for the efforts that you're making to be able to, make a dent in this entertainment, and not just entertainment business, but just in business, period. As a, not just a woman, but a strong woman in the business mindset of you're utilizing this opportunity to be able to get a voice out that is very, very important for the development of other generations that's going to come after you. So I think it's important. You mentioned legacy earlier, and I think it's important as, not just as a parent, but just as a person who is trying to leave something for their children. What does it mean to you as your kids? I want to say multiple. You have multiple kids, right? Let me make sure I get that right. You have multiple?
I have two, yes. I have two.
Okay, you have two. Okay, just want to make sure. All right. With multiple kids, just, how does that mean? What does that mean to you for them to watch you build this platform yourself? Because I think it's a great thing for your kids to see that you're trying to work on something that has everything to do with leaving them this behind,
Mhm. That has been important to me. I do fully believe in, I don't believe in the do as I say, not as I do. I lead by example, and I lead better by example, actually. And with my children, I have seen the difference in them. I see my daughter's ambition, and she always, reference back to me, Mom, you gave me the courage to do this. Mom, I want to be just like you. My son, he's like my biggest fan, and he also comes to me, and he's making moves, and he's like, Mom, I remember when you told me, it's chess, it's not checkers and stuff. So the fact that I'm leaving that with them and it's helping them get to where they need to be in life, that is everything to me. And I continue to want to just set that example. I always tell this story, when I first put the Davenports out, it was a disaster. My books got lost in the snow. I had tried to do an app and that crashed. It was a complete failure. And I honestly almost gave up then. And then I just stepped back and said, okay, I'm going to take a year and learn what I should have done. So then I'm just showing them, you don't give up, you pause. And I tell them there's no failure. It's just, oops, time to pivot. That's it. There's no failure. You just pivot.
I think it's always good to have your kids see the best thing that you're trying to become as far as just who you are. You're still learning as you go. And you mentioned you had these moments of, I'm just going to throw this to the ground. I can't do this. Like, this, I give up. Like, oh, my God, we have so much to relate to. I can't wait to talk to you offline. But we have so much in a sense where it's just like there's so much you just want to throw away. It's just, but at the same time, you can't throw away what matters to you. And what matters to me, and I'm sure you feel the same way, you may have 2 kids, but technically you have 3. You have your business, right? So that's like your kid as well. And I have one daughter, and I have this business. So I still have 2 kids, right? So I think I would, it's all about trying to be able to live for it as well as die for it at the end of the day. And I think this is what I want to, live for, so I can be able to give this to my daughter and my, whoever the future wife or in the family will be and things like that. And I want to make sure that these kids are inspired by it because they see the work that you put in. You probably, like me, sleep very little, but put in a ton of work at the end of the day, right?
Exactly. Yes, you already know. But it's good, and I just tell them too. But I'm also trying to just do balance too, because I am very much a workaholic. But I'm trying to step back from that because I don't want them to just get lost in their careers. I explained to them that when I was married and with their father, my career was on the back burner. I wasn't doing writing or whatever else, and it was just we just kind of went along with what he wanted to do. And so in this period of time. It's about what I want to do. So that's why it's like I'm exploring everything that I had an idea about or a dream about. And so that's why I don't, it's not me just forcing myself. I love everything that I do right now. But again, I want them to understand how balanced, because they're going to have families, they're going to have children and stuff. And don't let that time pass you by while your kids are younger and stuff.
And you can enjoy the balance that you create when you do it too, because I think, you know, for the years that I've been doing what I'm doing with the 9 to 5 and everything else, you know, there's a time where you just got to, like, you know what, forget it, stop. Everything stops. My kid comes first, or the mission of what I got to do next comes first. There's a way you can be able to kind of, you know, let it be for the time being, so you can take care of whatever's going on. But and I think they may not appreciate it now, depending on how old they are. But when they get old enough to know, oh, mom left this for me or dad left this for me, they may not want it fully, but knowing that they have it is going to be important too. And I think it's important to be able to share that with the kids, because, you know, talent is talent, no matter how it is. And the fact that they're witnessing it, highs and lows and all, I think it's a beautiful thing. So I just wanted to say that. I love that.
Thank you. Yes, and it's. I'm glad again that, you know, they're happy for me and that they're involved. You know, like the technical aspects of some of my books. My son has contributed to that, and he can act like an editor sometimes. Naya comes up with like my marketing, so it's already becoming a family business, and that's what I would love Prose to the publishing to grow more into, where I could bring in even my sister or my mom or something, you know, and just keep it all in the family.
Love it. Prose, my guest. Nexxlegacy Radio, brought to you by Publishing.com. And a couple more questions before I let you go is, I mean, you know, been blessed to have this station and, you know, play a lot of music in between that and, you know, all this stuff going on. So I'm going to ask you a music question. What's your best decade of music?
The 90s. It would be the 90s for me.
Okay. All right. And because?
Just because of the music that came out, I felt like that's when hip-hop really, really took off and started getting more respect. It started kind of getting cleaned up a little bit more, too, from the gangster rap. And it was just my period of when I was in high school and college and stuff, and it just brings back so many memories. I would say my second one, though, and I wasn't in that era, would be the 70s, because I would have loved to be in the disco era.
All right, I'm curious now, Mar. Why would love to have been in the 70s in the disco era? Why? Because
the music is just great. The afros, you know, I mean, soul. I mean, there was just so much. Studio 54 and all this stuff. I mean, I don't want to do all the other stuff that was going on, you know, the drugs and stuff, but just to have been witness there during that time. And people back then, I think the biggest thing, seriously, Charles, is people dance and have fun. I don't understand this lounge concept where we go and we're supposed to sit around and order a drink and look around and do nothing. Like, we could just be at each other's house. So for me, it would have been the dancing and nobody's looking around and making fun of each other. You're just having a good time, and all that energy that's there, that's just gone. I don't understand this nonsense. I'm in the wrong era.
Hey, listen, I feel you, though. I feel you. But listen, you're going to say the 70s. You're going to say the 90s. I've always had a soft spot for the 80s. Why did you not mention it? At least acknowledge the 80s. At least. Like, that may not be the best decade, but... And listen,
okay, that'll be my third. That's my third.
Oh, wow, your third. All right, and that's love, though, respect, because everybody's got their entitlement to what it is, and I love the 80s for this reason, Mara, so I'm gonna speak up for my 80s. This was the early birth of early hip-hop, right? So this was right, you know, late 70s, early 80s was where it took off. But aside from hip-hop, let's just, you know, everything was diverse. Like, I'm a diverse kind of music guy, right? So I love the, you know, old school Duran Durans. I love Run DMC. Got to give hip hop little props too up top. But also, Mara, the soundtracks to the movies, for the 80s.
True.
What?
Yes, I give you that. I do give you that. You are right.
every single movie had a classic soundtrack to the 80s, and you can't deny it. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful. So I got to throw in my 80s in there somewhere. I've always been an 80s. If you go back and listen to like old radio shows that I had, I'm always speaking up for my 80s, damn it. That's how I roll. Got to speak up for the 80s. But I love it.
I give that to you.
90s was a decade, I feel like, of, a lot of independence when it came to artists. Like, a lot of artists back then was shining based on the opportunities they were getting. There was spin-off record labels that was winning. You had, it was a subsidiary of a bunch of different, branches that was just so winning. And the diverse culture of it was starting to become, really, really great. And then somewhere in the 2000s, 2010s, I don't know where it fell off, but the 90s was really that diverseness of the independent artists, and they're thriving to become bigger and better. I saw that, and that was great. In the 70s, you're right. It was just full of love. You go to a club in the 70s, you was probably music and dancing. It was a lot. It just felt like it was a lot of fun. So
yeah,
I feel that.
It was a lot of fun. Instead of standing around and looking at each other.
Yep.
You'd be home in bed, sleep, and doing that. That's just such a waste of time to me.
Hey, wait, Bar, you're in a club now, or you're in a lounge, and you hear music, and all we're doing is if you and I are there, we're just swaying back and forth in a chair.
That's it.
For what? Yes.
For what? We can't hear each other talk, nothing. The food's usually not good. It's what am I doing with my life, if I have time to just waste here?
Hey, straight up though, but no, you're 100% right. You gotta. It's a vibe. You and I, we need to come up with a new business plan to have. We just don't call it 70s vibe. You got to come in on that vibe. If you can't do it, you can't come into our club. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
If you can't give me that energy, you can't make it. And you have to dance. It is a requirement. If you can't be on the dance floor doing whatever, then I don't know. You're not sitting down all day in VIP just listening or looking at stuff. Nah, we don't do that. VIP in the 70s? What? What is that? You don't know what that is?
Right. Right. To be a remake of Studio 54. We're bringing all that back. So they love to do remakes, so we would remake Studio 54.
Better watch out. We might bring that vibe back. Watch. We might hit people over the head with a new venture. So you never know. Never know.
You never know.
Mar Prose, my guest on Nexxlegacy Radio, brought to you by marpublishing.com. And I want to give you an opportunity to give a final shout out to the people. This is going to be your blueprint of, telling people where to direct traffic as far as that goes. Not just the website that I've been mentioning, but social media. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to do shout-outs and direct some traffic to whoever you want.
Okay. Well, of course, I got to give a shout-out to both my kids. And Mom loves you. Thank you for all the support. And then also to my mother, who actually has been just a big part of this journey and has really just always supported me, so giving her a shout out. But I also just want to, aside from my social media, I have 2 books that are dropping on December 31st. One is a suspense thriller, The Davenport's The Battle of Wills.
Ooh.
And the other one is a rom-com, The Queen of Marriage. And that is where I have taken all of my friends' dating, the catfishing and everything else, and put it in a romantic comedy. So I think that's going to resonate with people who are in the dating world. So definitely you will be able to buy that on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And then lastly, the 6th season of the Mara Prose podcast resumes in January. So tune in then for all new episodes and interviews. And I might just have Charles on there too.
Hey, I'm ready for it. All you gotta do is call me. I'm ready to go. But can we come back and do a because I want to purchase your books. I want to read it. I want us to have a book club conversation. in regards to that. I don't want to drop too many gems during the conversation, so we might have to shorten it. But I think directing traffic and talking about the book is going to be important. So I'm looking forward to not just purchasing it, because I'm going to do that when we get offline, because it's available now to buy, right?
Or no, not until December 31st. No? Yes, December 31st.
All right. Mm-hmm. I got to put a calendar hit for that purchase, and that December 31st is next week, y'all. So we're going to continue to push that. When it's released, we'll get it. Mara, I want you to come back so we can talk about it after I'm done reading it, so we can have a discussion, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I'd love that.
Perfect. And in closing, I just want to thank you, not just for taking the time to hang out with me on Nexxlegacy Radio, but becoming my person, my go-to. When you're going to see this in my effort, I'm not talking about just, oh, she has a thriving business, I'm just going to interview her and I'm not going to say anything else. No, I'm going to put her website on my website. I'm going to put her in there with the mix of the other partners that I do have. Shout out to Amazon, Walmart, and all these other companies that I do work with. But I just want to see you become a better you in what you're doing as well. So my efforts are going to be laced with yours in regards to, connects, who I know, what I can be able to do to add to it. I'm not trying to take away. I just want to do something where I can be able to pay it forward, not just because I want something. It's because I see what you're doing and I see what you're trying to do for your kids and your family and your legacy. And I just want to be an extension to that. And I just want to put these words into actions. And I just want that to be what it is. So I just really and truly thank you for the blessing that you have given me about this dialogue, but just being able to get a chance to get to know you.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, thank you for reaching out and, being so supportive. It really means a lot. We need more like you. So it's nice and it's refreshing to have, someone who just is really just getting to know you and to just be that supportive and be willing to just, step out there and help your work grow. So my sincere gratitude to you. Thank you so much.
Nexxlegacy.